Personally, I've always had a soft spot for narrow gauge. And never have I had such an impression left on me as when I visited Wales back in 2019. I enjoyed the experience so much so that I bought a 009 scale Linton and Barnstable Manning Wardle by Hellion as a reminder of that trip, without actually having any English 00 scale or, for that matter, narrow gauge trains. Now, for some time, I've had the ongoing issue of building a layout in a small space, and at the same time, I've been very keen to introduce a modular standard of railway to create a bit of a community. Now, after a few setbacks last year, some friends and I decided to build a modular 009 scale English-Welsh themed railway, and we displayed this concept at the Easter Model Train Show at Diamond Creek here in Melbourne. And now we want people who are potentially keen on this idea to join in. Now, we can't really take any credit for the design elements here, as on a forum called rmweb.co.uk from a user named Paul RHB who posted a standard to M009. And there were a number of videos on YouTube of this standard working. So we've taken that standard and we're going to try and make it happen here. So for those who don't know, 009 scale is 00, but narrow gauge. So you use N-scale track, which is available from Pico in many different forms, like FlexiTrack and points. And you can still use 00 scale buildings with lots of options. However, because the trains use smaller scale track, you can fit in a lot without sacrificing detail or the need for a large amount of room. Now, there's lots of options for rolling stock and locomotives in both ready to run and kits, which is something we might explore in another video. So during December 2023 and January 2024, I started building. Now, I didn't film any of this, as I found when I built the last couple of little layouts, I received a lot of criticism on things like wiring techniques, which did make me question what I was doing and eventually led me to disassembling the layouts, even though they were working. This time, I built it according to plan, and I made sure it was all good before I shared this, so hopefully it doesn't happen again. Something I've come to learn is there are many ways to wire and build a model railway, and none of them are absolute, so do what works for you, and that's my takeaway from the last couple of builds. So the modules I started with were a scenic straight board, a fiddle yard for storage, as well as a corner board and a junction, and they measure about 1.2 meters each. And they just run along my side walls and sit on top of my IKEA shelves. And I did this so we could test the idea to make sure it was sound, which it is. So in terms of how I constructed these baseboards, they're built with a pine frame and a plywood top. They're very rigid and strong, and it's a classic modular layout standard construction. The corners are about an 18-inch radius. Although the 009 layouts can certainly hand tighter turns, this is for larger coaching stock, and well, if someone ever releases an NGG, and I'm going to continue along with the scenic standard that I've already started with on these other two boards, well, when I get around to it. Part of the standard for this build are the end plates, which is something we had made up, to keep in line with the English version, and to create a bit of scenic interest between modules. These are laser cut boards, which have holes in them to help line up modules, although we found clamping them at exhibitions and when we've displayed it actually works better. But these boards also see copper clad sleepers on the end, which are arrow-dited down to make sure that they don't move, and these are ones we got from Control It here in Australia. Although we started with the N-scale ones, after we got going, Martin at Control It now has 009 scale ones, which is fantastic. Now, this is the basic rundown on the standards. Each board starts and ends with a laser cut board. This is to give, well, like I said, a bit of interest rather than a flat end. The wiring connection is using banana plugs. We've used female banana plugs under the boards, and because of how we have the wiring set up, modules can be reversed, so it gives a fair bit of flexibility when being set up. The track is flush with the ends and has been soldered to the PCB boards. Now that's the fundamentals. Whatever you want can go in the middle, staying in this Welsh-English theme. For most of us, the initial build, we went with something very basic, but now I can't wait to see more interesting module shapes going forward. We went with DCC control because it's much easier to wire and, well, control. With that, we do have Digitrack's Wi-Fi connected to the layout, so all the trains can be controlled with phones and tablets, rather than a conventional controller. So that's a bit of a rundown, and I guess this is an introduction to the project. Now, if you are keen to find out more about this little group that we've put together, I've got the standard on my website. as well as the end plates if you want to set. And there's also a Facebook group for help, guidance, inspiration, and of course showing off your progress. Now I should point out this isn't to take away from the HO scale free mode groups, and if you are interested, the Epic Model Club did have a display at the Canberra exhibition. I think this seems like a good standard to follow, and they're a friendly group to boot. As well as that, they're the first that I've seen with a working demonstration, which hopefully will get around to more exhibitions and grow into a good, positive community. However, I think that this standard is a great way for people looking to start small, or build dioramas, or learn how layout building works, whilst keeping it simple, and then meet up for a good old time playing trains. Now, I think that I should also point out that this is not directly club affiliated. There's no need to join up to a particular club or organisation. Although we are looking to have some work and display days at a couple of clubs around Melbourne. And at the time of recording this, we've recently had our first demonstration at the Sunbury Model Railway Club just outside of Melbourne. As well as that, we will also have the layout on show again at the AMRA Melbourne Showgrounds exhibition in August, and possibly on display at a couple more throughout the year. So I guess going forward, every time I build a new module, I will make a video on it, or at least attempt to. And yeah, if you want to follow along and keep up to everything, of course, easy way, be subscribed so you can keep up to date with all the videos that I have coming out. You can join the Facebook group. There are a few questions that you do have to answer to get into it, just to make sure you're a real person. And of course, there is the standard on my website, as well as the end boards and links to everything that we used. And I guess it's a bit more of a comprehensive rundown of the standard. Anyway, it's all pretty easy to build, it's pretty easy to get into. I kind of feel like that there is no massive overhead cost to get into this, simply because you don't necessarily need locomotives and rolling stock. You don't need a control system. We are going to provide the control system. I'm sure a few of us will let you borrow a train if you bring a module to an exhibition or to a meet. We're all pretty friendly. And yeah, so everyone's got a phone, so you've got a controller or an old tablet, or I used an old phone the last time we did it without a SIM card in it, and it can just drive some trains. Anyway, I'm looking forward to getting this out to everyone, and yeah, I guess thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, leave it in the comments or shoot us a message. Anyway, we'll see you soon. Hooroo.